call to order this budget workshop for the Board of Directors, Siloam Springs. This is, I don't know what date this is, November the 20th, 2025. So let's have a roll call.
Blair. Here. Burns. Wiles.
Here.
Hunt. Here. Rissler. Here. Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
We do have a quorum, and with that, I will turn the floor over to you, Christina.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of the board. Line item variances were provided with the budget books, and I'm going to recap a few highlights for the overall budget and then begin each department in the budget, noting the main changes from prior year and opening up the floor to questions related to that segment of the budget. So just to recap, property sales tax value is basically the asset valuations have increased due to an increase in the number of buildings and their value. Sales tax was budgeted at the same level as 2025 based on collections through August. September was a little bit higher, but we've gone through August, and that's a good conservative number. This budget includes a 2% raise for non-uniformed employees. Uniformed employees will receive their step raise. Director Allen had asked me how much the step raises were, and they are $170,000 approximately. Interest income is trending higher than budget, but due to recent rate cuts, receipts will be less as we turn over our certificates of deposit. The interest rate is considerably lower. So, the effect of the change in rate study. So you haven't seen the rate study yet, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it because it's going to impact the budget. I ran a quick basically, I just went through and plugged in the rate, because the rate for electric this year would be 0% based on the changes in the rate study, and then it would be 4% each year after that. Now, that does take the initial increase in pay in the amount that citizens will pay from just under $11 to just under $8. But that will reduce the amount of transfers by $104,000. And this will reduce the positive budget for general fund from $132,000 to $28,000. And it will reduce the enterprise fund from $129,000 to $32,000. Both of those are still legal budgets.
That's if we do 0% electric.
Correct, based on the rate study for the first year. So beginning with administration, the revenues are on page 4.
Are we going to do the
Christina, just
budget summary? Can we discuss? I have questions on that.
Certainly.
just on that first page of the memo to the board, at the top, you said the credit card incomes and fees will not be reflected with the move to BSNA software. Does that mean there won't be any fees? No fees at all?
What that means is it will be just like the, when you go to the Department of Revenue to get your license, they don't collect the money and they don't expense the money. The third party that is basically your billing company, they take the fee.
Because we were charging 3%, right?
We were charging 3%. We dropped it down a little bit, and then the credit card fees increased. And so, like for this year, so far, we're eating about $30,000 in credit card fees because we lowered it just that little bit while they were increasing rates. So going forward, we won't have any of that revenue or any of that expense. And interestingly enough, it's actually more in line with state law to have a third party
I know, like
provider.
when you pay your property tax online to the county, they charge a 3% if you use a credit card. Or some percent, I think it's 3%.
Yeah.
So I didn't know why we would not be, but that explains it, so.
That's-
Yeah. Thank you.
Wanted to say, Madam Mayor, just ask questions.
You just go ahead and ask your questions.
Okay. So, a lot of my questions is based off of the increases that we're going to be asking for. So I don't just, the revenue, let's go to page 1 on the section is it? The budget summary. Hold on, I should have brought a ruler. I had a ruler at home. This is not the same. Hold on just a second. Thank you. So the revenue for the electric revenue is 30.9 million. Our purchase power is 19.7. What is the 11 million difference used for? And when we're asking for increases, can we explain what this 11 million difference is?
Where are you looking at that, Lisa?
Under budget summary, page 1, it shows the electric revenue. Now, the purchase power is on the next page at the bottom called purchase power, and it's 19.7. So when you take that, there's an $11 million difference. Can we explain what that 11 million is used for?
Bulk of it is used for two different things.
I assume salaries, or no? What does that consist of?
All of our operating costs, which does include salaries. It does also include some capital expenditures, everything that is coded to the general fund on the summary under utilities. It pays for that. All of the utility wages.
So when we collect the 3/8 cent sales tax on the utility, how does this connect with this?
Well, it's not part of the 39,000, or the $39 million that you're talking about. It's a sales tax that's in addition to that.
Right.
And that, basically, that money goes into a savings account and is pulled back out for either capital expenditures and utilities or capital expenditures for quality of life. So if you look at on the summary page, not,
Summary page.
I know, it's very difficult to understand, but what we've done, if you look at the revenue across the top, and then you look at the note where it says, earnings exclude the following revenue, you'll see that 3/8 is on there.
Okay, because it's not on this one, and I was wondering why it wasn't on this one, but the 5/8 is.
It's included as, the difference is the 5/8 is really, right now, it's only for debt repayment. So it is part of the sales tax number, like tax revenue.
Oh, you're talking about under the enterprise fund, Lisa, the 5/8 is not.
Hold
there,
on.
But it's not supposed to be.
Oh, I see what you're saying. And I actually, ruler also, yes.
I know, yeah, she gave me this. This is handy. Do you want
Okay.
one of these?
Oh, I see exactly what you're saying. I think that it is improperly added into the tax revenue.
Which one?
The one at the very top, this is tax revenue.
Okay.
So that is a formula, and they should have put the hard-keyed number in there, so it's included up in tax revenue. I'll get that corrected.
Okay, and so that'll be minus how much would that be?
Well,
You know, I'm sorry.
yes, I do, actually. It is almost 1.2 million.
What to- Okay.
And that is about half of what it normally is, because it's only supposed to go through June.
Okay,
and-
right.
Unless or until we,
Unless it passes. So that was going to be my next question. So does this budget reflect, it doesn't reflect the full year, it only reflects up to June?
correct.
Okay, that was my next question. And I have more questions, hold on. Okay, so on the utility, wait a minute, hold on. Under the utility reserves, that's marked out. Is that because it's in the unrestricted cash? Why is it zero? Why
It's
is it not-
zero because we're not pulling anything out of utility reserves. Therefore, it's not a revenue in the budget. Like last year, we paid for a substation transformer that we had bought a couple of years ago because it takes a couple of years. So when it came in, we pulled that money out of reserves. So like in the prior year, there would have been like 1.3 million on that line because we were pulling it out of reserves for the capital
That
project.
makes sense. Hold on. On the next page, page 2. General fund and street capital outlay. What specific projects make up this number?
A myriad. If you go to streets and look at all of the street
So it's
projects.
listed under streets projects. Okay.
Yes, but the general fund and street capital is going to include all of the capital outlay in the general fund.
The general, okay.
Yes.
No more questions under that section,
Okay.
Can I ask a
for
question?
me.
Christina, on that page, we're looking at the budget, the major revenue and major expenses. This is what we have budgeted, and I have last year's budget. Do we have numbers for the actual on these numbers? Like the actual versus what we budgeted?
Well, we haven't finished the 2025
Right.
year, so there's 2024 actual and 2025 budget because we haven't completed the year yet.
Yeah, because their year's not done. We still got, really, I guess you'd be 2 or 3 months before you could get it, really. I just didn't know if you had something that I just wasn't seeing is why. I didn't know if you'd projected it through the end of the year to compare to what we had budgeted. But I guess these numbers we're looking at for 26 would be, in a way, that projected. Okay.
Part of our process is to project the number through the end
Yeah.
of the year, and we do compare where we're, no, this is just internal and it's not included in this book, but we do actually do a projection and compare for the budget purposes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Looks like we're ready to move on.
Okay. So beginning with administration budget revenues on page 4. Just past the first green tab. The 3/8 sales tax is, again, only budgeted for 6 months as it may sunset next year. County sales tax is trending lower than 2025, but higher than 2024 actual, and we've, again, basically used the August as the cutoff to budget that. Charges for events moved to the administration fund from parks, and the increase in transfers from utilities is due to the rate increases. Pardon?
On that page, on the sale of cooling water, what is reflected in that increase?
That is what we sell to SWEPCO. They pull from City Lake, and we bill them based on the amount of water they pull through the meter.
Oh, okay, so you,
I was going to ask that same question.
okay, so did we have any operational, expanded operational cost or rate changes on that?
The way our contract with them is set up, it increases by CPI annually.
The reason I was wondering, Christina, is it drops from the actual of 24 on our budget, but then it comes back up for this year's budget. And the only reason I'm asking is because I recall when that first started, the contract with SWEPCO first started, I know everybody loves it when I say it, when I was mayor, but David Cameron came up with that contract, and the first year we were selling it was $350,000, and that was like 12 years ago. So why would it be almost half of that now?
We actually had an issue a couple of years ago, and that's why you're seeing it go down and then come back up, because they changed management, and for a little while there, management was not pulling water from the lake. And so we had to have a conversation with them about, hey, are you pulling this, what is going on here? And then we also did have a couple of meter issues that we got corrected, and that's why it looks like it goes down, but then it comes back up.
It's just odd, even for '24, it's 100,000 less than it was in 2011 or 12, and so I didn't know if a contract had changed or if a rate had changed or something, because we weren't getting anything till David came up with that contract, and because they were lowering it, and who was I out there with recently? Chief, but Dustin. And we were talking about how SWEPCO paid for the bigger dam, and because they were lowering it, and now they were able to let it come up, but they were able to pay us for what they took, because before, they would just lower it and it would affect the whole lake. But that's why I was wondering, I was like, this is odd to be such a less amount.
Yeah, it was it was interesting to try to contact the new manager there for a couple of years, and then finally, we were like, are we renewing this? Do you need this water? Because our rate is cheaper than what they would be getting through Two-Ton, and I don't know if they recognized that when they
Yeah.
changed the manager.
Okay. I'm just curious, thank you.
Anything else on that page? Okay.
Expenses begin on page 5.
Oh, wait, I did have one question.
Sure.
What is the supplemental beverage permit? Is that fees we get for the alcohol? Okay, I didn't know because of the word supplemental, but,
So there are two different ways that they pay that. One is an annual fee, and one is based on their sales.
yeah.
So this is the portion based on the sales. Expenses begin on page 5.
Supplemental beverage.
Personnel costs are relatively flat compared to prior year. City events expense is moved to basically the administration department from parks. And for reference, in prior year, it was 78,000. So the difference between last year and this year for that line item is $2,000. The main driver for operations increasing is higher legal costs associated with hiring outside firms.
Question on that page.
Certainly.
Would it be cheaper to hire a city attorney, even if part-time, or a prosecutor at these rates?
Yes, I think we estimated that you could probably hire an attorney and even a paralegal and they could actually do both attorney positions. But you'd save about $80,000 based on the going rate for those.
Is that something we should consider in this budget?
That is up to the board and whether or not they like how the legal services they're receiving are.
I don't think I have a problem with the legal services. I have a problem with spending extra money when we're using citizens' money and it's not our money.
That's correct.
So how do we make that a conversation?
Well, you can, you can request that we adjust the budget to add those positions and then and move those amounts or the appropriate amounts into salaries and wages and out of the operating expense.
So do we have to vote on that in a meeting or?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to see that as an agenda item up for discussion. Whether it passes or fails, I would like to see us discuss it. Because if we can save $80,000 when we're looking at,
What was the reason we got away from that anyway?
Alan said we'd save money.
Thank you.
Right now, Christina,
Sorry, I mean, that's the reality.
what is our, is it a annual contract? Is it a monthly contract with Harrington Miller? What does that contract look like right now?
I will have to double check Harrington Miller, but I think it's a month-to-month
Month to
contract.
month, okay.
However, the contract that was provided for J. Williams Law Firm would be a straight $120,000 for the next year for prosecuting attorney fee, or for, prosecuting attorney
And
fees.
then,
Okay.
yeah, Alan was gone when Jay left, so then how come we didn't go back?
I think part of it was having an office of attorneys means there is a whole lot of expertise in different areas and different subject matters. And finding somebody who is familiar with our form of government can be a challenge. So there are advantages to having access to an office of attorneys.
Kit Williams is a great attorney for the city of Fayetteville. He has been for years. David Whitaker was out there for years. I mean, they're out there.
Mindy?
We got a different one that wasn't.
Mindy,
Look at the cost. Look
talking
at
to
what
your
cost.
mic because we're, thank you.
I was just asking questions about the
And
history of
that's-
our attorney situation.
That's what this is about. Yeah, I'm glad you're asking.
Yeah.
Floors,
I think we're having a conference over here, a consult.
Oh,
I wanted to make sure that you actually have to vote on that.
Okay, okay.
yeah.
And it may be something where the board as a whole, though, would probably need to direct me to change the budget, but it's not really
So that we can ask for an agenda item. Any director can ask for anything to be on the agenda. So I'm asking that it be on the agenda, and whether it passes or not, at least it's up for discussion, and it shows the citizens, we're trying to save you money.
So do you want it on the agenda as a discussion? Is that what you would like to have?
Yeah, and a
Yes.
vote,
Okay,
because we'd have to vote.
okay. So,
Because you'd need to know
We-
soon, wouldn't you, before the budget's done?
Well, you have to pass the budget as a resolution, so I didn't know if you wanted me to make that as an add or subtract as we're approving that. Like, you could individually vote on
I
those
think
items
sometimes when
to
we do
change.
that, we fail to follow through. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
so since it's requested that it be on the agenda, I would say then that we get with our attorney, ask them how we need to have that, what we need to do to get that on there so they can discuss and vote, however that needs to be placed on there. If we can do that, that way it will be.
And would staff be able to line item like that out so that we can see why it would make a difference and where the 80,000 savings would come in? Can you explain why?
I
it
mean,
would
I
be an
guess what I
80,000?
could do is take that total amount on the front of the summary sheet and say that, you would be adding 80,000 back to that number. Is that what you're asking for?
Well, how do you know we're going to save 80,000?
I think she wants to know what-
I'm just saying,
based
based on paying an attorney fee, just a salary of 120,000, and
Okay.
paying a paralegal fee of a high amount, even like $60,000 a year, is going to end you up with about a savings of,
Okay, and does that include benefits and
Yes.
retirement and everything? Okay.
yes.
That's what I want to
retirement-
make sure we cover.
Yes.
David?
I got confused what Lisa was referring to, prosecuting attorney or city attorney?
Oh,
I think she's wanting,
Both.
she's talking about hiring someone that can do both. Is that what I'm understanding you're
We
saying?
did vote on the
Yes.
firm for the city attorney. We did vote,
We did,
yeah.
but
I didn't know if you were thinking we didn't, because we did, it came.
oh, yeah, I know we voted on it.
Yeah,
and it
I don't
was
know if
changed.
we did we on the prosecuting
Yeah,
attorney?
we
Okay.
did, and he's
Yeah, we-
doing a great job. Yeah, we have a
I
great
think your
prosecuting
Well,
police
were-
attorney.
department
were you-
will attest to
Were you
that.
asking about something else being put on the agenda, Lisa? What else was needing to?
Because I asked what kind of savings we could get
Oh.
if we did this, because look at how much that combined. And I didn't even combine it. Let's do my math real quick.
No, I knew we paid Jay Williams less than the employee Jay Williams was getting as a salary, but we didn't have like a multifaceted firm with employment law either, which is what we were looking at, Harrington Miller.
So she's saying, right now, we pay $315,000 for that service, those services, $315,000. She's saying we could hire somebody, an attorney and a paralegal, for $80,000 less.
We didn't pay that before to a city attorney.
What, the 315 or what,
No,
the,
I thought you said 80,000.
That's what we would save.
That would be a
Oh,
savings.
that's what would save.
That would be
Oh,
a
okay.
savings.
it'd be
I think we
$235,000.
justified having a firm over a specific individual because of the range of knowledge with many, many, many attorneys.
What, say that again? I misunderstood.
I
I'm
said,
sorry.
I think we had already justified the better firm with a range of skill sets, including employment, over having an individual on salary. We used to have the same firm, Harrington Miller, on as our city attorney, and it worked. Where are you getting the 300,000 number? I see 180.
180 and 135 is $315,000.
135 is the prosecuting attorney.
And she's saying we can combine those.
We never have combined them. The prosecuting attorney in the past has always been an outside attorney.
That is correct, but it's not illegal to have an in-house attorney do both.
There was the question for many, many years as to why we were paying over 100 grand to Jay Williams and still paying 100,000 more to an outside prosecuting attorney. It came up around town all the time. But
Can we cap our legal fees? Can we?
kind of
how
hard
do
to
you do
do
that?
when you don't know
Yeah.
what is coming up. Yeah.
So that's, yeah, it's just, $315,000.
Legal fees are expensive.
I think you get what you, I think you get what you
Yeah.
pay for, and I'm just saying, I don't know how you could have an attorney do what we're asking them to do now on top of the personnel issues, and then also go and be the prosecutor. But
And my question kind of along that line, I'm just going to ask, and it may be a question for Chief Miller.
yeah,
Could an attorney, a city attorney / prosecuting attorney handle the workload that you all have now
With the paralegal.
with the paralegal?
I don't believe so, because Jay Williams Law Firm has 2 attorneys right now working on it with a paralegal, and it's a lot of work. And as our population continues to grow, you heard me the other night, our calls for service have went up 18%. It's only going to get much more of a heavier workload. So I would personally think that would be too much for one attorney to do all of the city attorney business and prosecuting attorney business for the entire city.
that was good, Mayor, that I had forgot Scott sitting right there, that he's the one that really should know in
He's the
terms of
one
the
that
amount of
knows.
work, yeah. And I think you'd get to the point where they were doing so much prosecutorial work that what staff needed them to do on writing stuff for ordinance would get,
When our former prosecutor, David Bailey, left, he was making much less.
Yep.
And so what I remember, and I wasn't privy to every meeting, was when Jay Williams Law Firm took over, they basically did a study of that workload and what it was going to have to entail for those attorneys. And that's why that fee went up to the 120,000, is because of the amount of workload. And I will say their attention to the officers and the officers having direct contact with them has improved dramatically to get these cases resolved much quicker.
I think David was overworked, wasn't he? I mean,
Yes.
he was pretty busy. And as you said, he wasn't really making what he could
David,
out in private.
talking
I'm
to you,
sorry.
yeah.
He wasn't making what he could out in private business, so, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think there was thought process and reasonings to keeping them separate from what I've heard over the years, so that's all I'm saying.
One of the things we were told is that it would be cheaper. This is not cheaper to me. And as a citizen looking at this isn't cheaper.
I don't recall hearing that it would be cheaper.
I would say if you are wanting to look to save money, that it could be possible to hire two separate attorneys. But I think for one attorney to try to do the workload of the city and a prosecuting attorney, I think would probably be too much. Or again, they're going to want a lot of money. I mean,
You don't
it's a
think a
lot.
paralegal could help with some of that back in writing, because the attorney wouldn't be writing it.
I'm
That's
not
what
an
a
attorney.
paralegal does.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure there's ways to save money is all I'm saying, but you've got to remember that amount of work, the after-hour phone calls that PD makes to them to answer legal questions in certain circumstances, as well as court prep, pre-trial preps, all of that stuff takes a lot of time, and that can't be done by a paralegal. Paralegal can present drafts or plea agreements or something like that, yes. But when it comes to that one-on-one legal advice, somebody who's going to have to do that stuff, it's going to have to be that attorney, and that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for us. It doesn't stop.
And that means going
And so
out of
they
the-
rotate those attorneys for one of them to be on call for our officers to be able to get that legal advice.
They
Well,
wouldn't be here all the time. They'd be going to court and stuff. Right?
Well, I mean, they probably wouldn't be available for those things if they're having to
That's what
answer
I'm saying.
questions for Christopher Paxton or do other city legal questions is going to take their time as well. So they're going to be balancing this juggling act between both jobs. I just personally think that's too much for one attorney.
Now, you could, as you were saying, is not just an attorney and a paralegal, you could get two full attorneys to, but I can tell you, it is hard to find any attorney to come to work for a city or any government body because of the limit. Now, there are some that have been in private practice and are wanting to slow down, and they will take a salary job with benefits because they're just literally in their whole life slowing down. But I think Judy can tell you, just because she's seen it too, it's hard to find an attorney who wants to limit their yearly income. And they are limited when they're working for a salary, whereas out in the private practice, it's like whatever, however hard they work is how much they're gonna make. So it's just tough. I've seen it over the years. It's tough to get. We couldn't get anybody local for years to want to do it. We had to get people out of Siloam to come do it.
Didn't we,
Even John Dodge was
Yeah,
not from
yeah,
here. He
no.
was from Fayetteville.
Yeah.
with a firm, or did he work for the
No,
city?
he was
was
not
on
with
his
the firm.
own.
He was on
But I'm
his
just
own.
saying, we couldn't get anybody at Elk Rock, we couldn't get anybody to even consider because they're in private practice and they're making a lot more money. And so, I mean, you could ask, but they would just almost laugh in your face because unless they're just near retirement age and just wanting to limit, and it's hard. It's really tough. So getting two, I think, would even be tougher, you know.
So do we know, did the city well, you know what? I will look into it, so you guys don't have
I
to.
was going to say, for
so we-
$10,000 a month, we're only paying for about 50 or 60 hours a month.
We are paying 50.
Then I had one other thing besides that. Christina, on administration, you have special events has been moved here from parks.
Yes.
What does special events entail? I know it was with parks, and in fact, from 24 to 25, it looks like it doubled from 35 to 70,000.
So special events includes like line dancing, yoga, summer camps, not anything sports related. It also includes the 4th of July. that
Does
type
it
of thing.
include the fourth Friday at the parks? Or is
Oh,
that
that was
something?
already in admin under another line. Hold on.
That's under what?
That's already in admin under another line. It was under city events, right underneath
Oh,
it.
city events, okay. So we're putting 80,000 into a lot of these classes and things, but we don't charge anything for those, right? Like the Zumba and all these other things?
We're not putting that much into those. We're only putting about 20 grand into those. The rest of that is going to be for your summer camps and for the 4th of July.
The summer camp is not charged anything?
They
don't
do.
char-
We charge fees for that. We don't charge enough to cover the cost, but we do charge fees for those, yes.
Okay. But it's expensive to put it on, I
Yes.
guess. Okay.
And like your daddy-daughter dance is included in that line item
Oh,
as
okay,
well. So,
okay. Now, didn't we talk about making it inclusive to,
Yes.
yeah?
I'm not sure what the poll came back, but I do believe we're at least going to do a family formal.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So we put a poll out. From what I seen the last time that I looked at it, it was leaning more toward staying the daddy-daughter dance, which is what we anticipated. We did discuss maybe doing, because we do about 3 of those, I think is how it was done in the past. We did discuss doing 2 daddy-daughters and maybe trying 1 family formal to make one at least be inclusive, but still retain the daddy-daughter dance to keep the majority of the citizens happy.
I thought it was a good idea to ask because of the mixtures of families of what is, not every family has a father, not every family has a mother. I thought it was great to add the mother-son dance because we used to not have that. But, yeah, I think if you do one of them as a family formal, that brings everybody out. So that's a great idea. You could have a mother-daughter situation, father-son, whatever you want to do. So I just think that's good that you're looking beyond what we've done before. I just didn't know because it's not broke down under special events as to what all it is, but I had thought it was counting the 4th Friday, but now I know it's not, it's other stuff. So why did we bring it from parks over to admin?
Part of that had to do with personnel supervision. So
Okay.
there was we just needed a level of accountability, let's put it that way.
Okay,
Christina, are you done? I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm done. That was all I had.
I actually had some of the questions under parks, but now that you explained some stuff, on the line dancing, the yoga, the summer camps and stuff like that, as we're looking at utility increases, and I'm going to harp on that. Are we looking at increasing any of these? Because some of them are actually free, are they not?
All of the what's considered to be wellness courses, which would be like the yoga and the line dancing and the Zumba, those are all free.
Have we considered paying some of those out of quality of life?
No, we have not considered paying some of those out of quality of life. That would be up to the board as to what we're going to consider quality of life. We did determine that the number of people that are participating. And the only thought that I personally had was maybe doing like a park pass to help recoup some of the costs.
Yeah. I just, it's great we offer programs. And I think it's great that we consider everybody in those. But we got to consider, we're asking for utility rate increases, but what are we doing internally? And I'm going to harp on it. What are we doing internally to help offset some of those costs? We're asking them to tighten their belts. What are we doing? Are we tightening our belts? And some of the ways we can tighten our belts is looking at our fees. And one of the things, and this was kind of under Parks and Rec, but, my direct question here is, is there any place in Parks and Rec we could save money or bring in more revenue? For example, charge for classes, increase facility rentals, et cetera. I think that needs to be a conversation. But every time we say something needs to be a conversation, we never have it as a conversation. Life goes on, and the increases occur, and we do nothing about trying to offset that. And it's just like the 5 million that we say is sitting in that quality of life. We talk about what we could do with it, but we never move forward with anything. It's just all talk, and we need to stop talking and start taking action on some of these things, because we're not proving to the citizens we're doing anything except talking, which does nothing. It does not benefit them in any way. And so, how do we have conversations on that? Public
I think-
conversations.
I think you can say those are quality of life.
Yeah, I would agree. As someone who's obviously very supportive of quality of life, I can see that moving to quality of life. I mean, I consider all those programs
Yeah.
just adding to my quality of life, and I think the other citizens that are involved, and there are a lot of citizens involved in those kinds of things.
Right.
We need to,
The complaint I've heard is that those classes we do provide, I've heard from people who attend them that say, we don't charge anything, even $5, and almost everyone they see can easily afford the $5, and we're just basically giving it away because we want to. But in my opinion, if we don't want to charge anything, we can be taking the cost of it out of that quality of life fund. I mean, it's sitting there, and that is absolutely a quality of life, line dancing, all the things. You know, didn't we talk about taking the Family Aquatic Center upgrade out of the quality of life?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's definitely a quality of life. So, yeah, I think, I mean, it was originally intended that a lot of the park expenses would be out of quality of life. And so those classes, I mean, all those different classes we provide, it's not that much. And it would be kind of ridiculous to just suddenly start charging. But I'm saying I'm just saying, I'm bringing it up because it's the only complaint, not complaint, but observation that people have made to me as to, you know, you're raising rates and all of this, but you're not, like Lisa was saying, you're not bringing in revenue where you could. And I think it's such a small revenue that it's kind of like, if we can pay for it, because we got $5 million in here for an absolutely quality of life thing.
And, oh, sorry.
I mean, how many other cities offer these things that are for, I mean, some do, but not everyone.
So,
Like 80,000, sorry. It seems like 80,000, but when you add 80,000 here, and as we go through the budget and we find another 80,000 or 50,000, it adds up. And can that money not be absorbed back into helping with those utility rate increases?
It wouldn't be enough to really,
But 60,000 here, 40,000 here,
I
20,000, it
agree.
adds up. Nickels and dimes add up. They can add them at home, they're going to add up here.
I'm not sure how much you would have to find in order to make a huge difference on that. I think that that 4% increase provided like $500,000-ish. Now, it's going to go down $100,000, but because we're not doing anything for electric, but the initial raises that we were budgeting for based off the utility rate study was about $500,000 to the utility fund.
You just said 100,000 plus this 80,000 is 180,000. If we're,
Well, I'm saying 100,000 is going away because we're not going to do the increase for electric in the first year.
so you're saying the rate increase of 4% is mainly going to the salary increase of 500-something thousand? That's what I thought you just said.
Well, I'm just saying it goes over into the general fund. That does fund salaries, it does fund our operations.
I would hate for us to go and ask for this 3/8 cent sales tax, also put through a rate increase, and now suddenly we're the talk of the town because they're going to say, oh, you're going to pay for this by raising Zumba fees up to $5 a month. I mean, it's kind of, even though I have heard it as an observation, I just think it's so minuscule, it's not really going to make a big difference to, I mean, if you want to go and look for something that's really,
Right, but it adds up.
I know it adds up.
We're looking at
Trust
one
me, I
item,
get
and
it.
we still have the
And so-
whole rest of the budget to look at.
So one of the things if you want to have this as a discussion, you can ask, as a board, you can ask staff to bring you back what the fees would need to look like in order to cover the costs and how we might approach that. And then you can vote it up or down. I mean, if you just want to have a conversation about it.
I didn't think I thought Lisa's initial recommendation was instead of having this money come from administration for quality of life kinds of things like what she said some of that was.
You're
that
saying
we just
instead
pull
of,
it out the
instead of charging for it, pull it
Pull it
out
out
of
of the
something
common
that
fund.
would.
There was two options I gave.
Yeah, I think David
And that's
mentioned the
an-
fees, but
that
then
is
you were
also
like,
an
that's
option.
not going to make a big difference, yeah.
But it's two options that shows we're trying. We're doing something. We're not ignoring that there's a problem. And I'm sorry, Betsy.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm saying, let's sit here, Betsy. I'm so sorry.
No,
I keep saying her.
It's fine. Christina and I had talked about this in the classes a couple of months ago. As far as fees and charging for them, on the spot, then there would have to be staff there to take the money, and that's another expense.
I wouldn't do it on the spot. I'd have
That's
it where you
where,
signed up.
like, I like the idea of the pass. If then, they can pay for it at City Hall and then take it or online. And I have heard what David has heard, that the people who go to these classes can afford to at least pay something. So I think I'm fine with if there's a pass and a minimal fee to cover expenses, or use quality of life. Yeah.
I think if we start charging a fee, it's not really a quality of service thing that we're providing for, that we are charging them for. Although I guess we have aquatic center fees, so I guess it wouldn't be that much different than that, but.
It doesn't have to be competitive. It doesn't have to be, if there's a private organization offering yoga, we're going to charge the same amount. But bringing some money is better than no money at all. Or, I just provided two options. I just think we need to start having conversations that we're ignoring the nickels and dimes. And we need to focus on seeing what we can do to pull out the nickels and dimes.
I like
So,
chopping on carrots in the front of my.
So based on the conversation and questions, sounds like maybe we need to look at what we could actually save if there is savings in hiring attorney or continuing to do what we're doing now, keeping the prosecuting attorney and the firm. I think that's, $80,000, if we can actually save that, then let's look at that and see, can we? If you could get that information and provide that for them to be able to compare and look, taking into account what Chief Miller has told us and what we know from our history. So maybe if you could just put that information and those costs together for them to really be able to compare side by side, I think that would be good for them from what I've heard in this conversation. And as far as the other, it's up to them if they want to make, if you all want to make a recommendation to her that we move the cost for these programs into quality of life, then I would say that the majority of the board, they just need to let you know that so that you can make that change. Is that
And I would
kind of what you
say,
need?
this is pervasive throughout everything that was going on in parks. So do we also want to provide the sporting options at the same, at the same rate that we're doing it now, because we're doing it for a loss, right? So do we want to supplement that with quality of life? Or do we want to look at determining what the fees would be to make it revenue neutral, and let the board decide which way they want to go at that point? I mean, those are both options.
And I would say that, yes, whenever you're talking about options like that, yes, those are things that they would want to see, to compare, and whenever we're talking about, okay, where can we save and it not do away with or reduce any of the things that we're doing, is just going to be, we're doing it differently. We're paying for it differently. So, yeah, if you could put that together, I think that would be good information for them.
Are these classes instructed by city employees?
No, we pay the instructors. That's
Would it-
really the only cost.
Would it be possible to get a report showing for each class what the cost is and how many people are, like over the last, I don't know how far back we can go, I don't guess it really matters. I guess this past summer, how many people were enrolled in those classes?
I already have that information. I can forward that to you.
Did we get those?
I think you requested that information, and then I think I sent, that was part of what you requested.
They forwarded on to you,
Yes.
that I requested.
Okay,
That's why, I'm so sorry.
But if you would like me to resend that, I certainly can.
if you would, please.
I had some questions.
That's what we're here for. Christina, is there more on administration that you want to go over?
Pardon?
Is there more in the administration budget that you want to go over?
Now I'm ready to move to the police if they are.
All right, so if you all are ready, we will move to the police department.
Which?
Police.
Oh, police.
Yeah, it says page 8, but it's under your
All right.
police tab,
Yep.
yeah.
So police revenues begin on page 8. There are several fluctuations in revenue with main decreases due to state funding for dispatch going away and fewer grants this upcoming year.
Christina, are you done with that page? I have questions on that page, too.
Okay, I have a couple more things on that page, and then, so court fines are budgeted up 9% based on trend, and lot fee turnback is a function of payroll, so as payroll increases, the reimbursement from the state also increases. So,
Okay.
that's the,
Can you explain Act 1188 jail improvements? Is that for us to pay for services from Benton County?
Chief Miller, can you help with that?
I'm not sure where that revenue comes from. I think, if my memory serves me right, that may be something that the courts are charging and giving back to us.
I think that's correct.
For,
So we can pay for that? Okay.
yeah.
I
I
was
think
wondering
it's,
if there's
I think it's a
link.
revenue coming from the courts to us for, out of certain fines.
Okay. On the PSAP, I don't know how other directors didn't know. I guess because my husband's a JP, I knew. I've been having conversations with Judge Morin for a while now. I would like the city, and I'd like to see the city request the county have a conversation with Bentonville on combining theirs and justifying that you should have three through the county, but you need one on the other side because it's been proven that when they go down, we're the fallover, and when we're down, they're the fallover. And so that spreads it out through the county. And can we not make an official request that the conversation occurs? And then Judy had a great idea of having, requesting Senator Dees and Representative Torres, I always want to call them by their first names, so it's hard to call them by their last names. And Judy going down to the state board and saying, have you considered location? Not just, here's your money, disperse it as you please, county, but looking at the location of spreading it out through the county and not putting it all in one corner. And can we not have some official conversations on that? because I've went to the county, I've asked, I've begged, I've done everything. I've done everything I could. I've had conversations with Maureen, I've had conversations with Dees, I've had conversations with Torres. And so asking them to get involved now at this point, because it is costing our citizens for a service that they deserve. And I don't, can we do that?
We can have conversations. I believe, as Judge Moring pointed out, there are unofficial conversations occurring already. They're just not formal.
They're regional, for a regional one. That is not for pulling from Bentonville, because Bentonville just did a bond issue on theirs. So they're
Right.
not going to give theirs up, and I understand.
They were doing a bond issue when it was decided. They hadn't finished the bond issue. It was,
Their bond issue was done in 2019 when all this conversation was
Right, but
happening.
it's done, so they're not going to pull. They're not going to say, they're not going to give theirs up. There's no way.
but their bond issue could have worked together with the sheriff's department to combine. And that's what everybody really thought was going to happen.
But the county had to make that request, and the county did not make that request.
Well, it's because of, I mean, Brad said it, and I said it to the judge, it was a power play. They don't want, none of it. Rogers doesn't want to give it up.
I think the
What
judge
frustrates
disagreed on
me
that.
is how did the decision really get decided to just cut out Siloam? I mean, who was the final, I mean, the state
county made the
911 board
decision.
said, you guys figure it out. That's
The
what they
county
did.
made the decision.
Well, but what
Am I
I'm
right?
saying is, who gave them the right to just cut Siloam out completely? I think the
They-
three of them decided, Rogers, Bentonville County,
I think
This
it
was the
all was
only
on the
thing we'll
county
do.
to decide. Is that correct?
I think, yes, I think ultimately, based on what I understand through conversations with Judge Mooring and everybody that I've had conversations with, is essentially, where's a cop when you need one? Based on those conversations, what ultimately happened is the state 911 board said, you're only getting 3. And everybody
Yeah.
came together. There was still the debate within the county as to who those 3 would get. And I think Judge Mooring and Philip Patterson struck a deal to that they thought would keep it. I do agree with what Director Rissler is saying, that more conversations can be had. She also attended the meeting that I went to with Justice of the Peace Rissler and Judge Mooring. I think the AG's opinion is up for interpretation, because I thought, based on what I read and some attorney advice that I got, is we can appeal to the state 911 board to allow that funding to continue to pass through, because we can show that it is being directly used for 911 purposes.
they may have had a problem
And
just
Judge
with Hot
Mooring
Springs.
specifically just told me no, he wasn't going to do that.
But doesn't it
Do we
have to come from him?
Yeah,
Oh,
do
sorry.
we have to have his okay for us to appeal that? Does he have to be a part of that?
I think he's going to have to, because it has to go through him.
Okay.
See, it sounded like the
Right now, he
911
doesn't
board
wanna
had
do
a problem with Garland County. And then then Benton County just kind of assumed we better back off or they're gonna be, but it may have been some internal situation with Hot Springs and Garland County that,
I don't know
Yeah,
that
who
whole
knows?
thing.
Who knows?
The attorney generals, so basically the state, my understanding is the state 911 board told them they couldn't no longer do that agreement because they found that monies were being spent on non-911 issues. I can't confirm, deny, or any of that.
but we haven't had that issue.
But we haven't had that issue. We've turned in all the forms to Benton County, just like we would normally turn them in to show where those monies are being spent. And so when they got the AG's opinion and it was shared with me and I went through it, basically the question that was asked is, can the 911 board ultimately decide where that money goes? The answer is yes, they can. They can decide exactly where that money goes and who it goes to and how it goes there. But what Judge Mooring got hung up on was the part where they said if they felt like the money was being used for any other purposes than 911, they could pull the funding.
Pull all of it, yeah.
But if we can show where it is being used for 911 stuff, it was my argument, but he did not want to pursue that route.
He said he can't risk the whole thing.
So
Yeah.
I think, and I've had conversations with Representative Torres as well, and I think it's going to take the mayor and some other people to have those conversations. I also have suggested many times over that all of our cities get together, including the county, and have a proper feasibility study completed with all of the intricacies that go into a consolidation to include location.
Really show how much
Yes.
is.
Now, didn't they
Before-
offer money for that? Did the board not offer money for a feasibility? Didn't they say they would give some for a
So
feasibility?
there's $400,000 total, 200,000 to one agency, 200,000 to the other agency if they consolidate, and only for the purpose of consolidating. But
There was some money for a feasibility study too, not just the consolidation, was there
not that I'm
not?
aware of.
We need to ask that.
So they did their study for the state when this initially came out, but in my opinion, it was inadequate because it did not go through the intricacies of what it is actually going to take to consolidate a county-wide 911 system. The 200,000 that they're offering to aid in the consolidation is a drop in the bucket of the expense that it would actually take even for us to consolidate. So the money that is perceived saved is not going to be saved. It's just not. Your upfront cost of that consolidation will be, even for us, by my estimates, are well over several $1 million for a complete consolidation.
But I think a feasibility study really would help to
Yeah,
show.
and we're still going to have staffing because we still have after-hour utility calls. We
The
still have.
911 board doesn't understand
So-
how much is done.
Correct. Well, I'll just throw it out there. Brianna and I are already preparing you guys a detailed report of all of this and all of the expenses and each one of it, like what it would look like if we consolidated, partly consolidated, what staffing that we actually have to have, and all of those things. And we're going to present to you because I think Director Reed had asked for it. So we were going to get it for all of you. We are working on it. We have it about 90% finished already. We were working on it today. So you guys will have a detailed report of everything that I know and everything that has happened, so you guys can make the most informed decision possible when it comes to our PSAP going forward.
I think the 911 board, time and again, looks at Northwest Arkansas as just the hillbilly cousins that they have to put up with. And we learned there's nobody on that board from Northwest Arkansas. So they're all
There used to
probably
be.
centrally located.
And that was just recent, and there was a falling out between Judge Mooring and the guy that was on the board. And it was in the paper and everything. And that's how all this came out. That's when all this came out, that they were going to pull our funding
so
after
it was
that guy resigned, and it was in the paper.
Well, that's-
It was, so that's where all this, I mean, if you know the whole history, but I don't think we need to put all our eggs in one basket. Yes, we need to have a conversation with the board, but we also need to have conversations that if Bentonville and the county will combine, that would be an easy solution for everybody.
You can
So-
suggest it, but it's going to go over like a lead balloon.
For this, but
There's an election coming up. And I think if somebody else was elected, because we know where Judge Mooring stands, and I hate to say that, but we do know where he stands, and he's not backing down. There's an election coming up, and that needs to be a conversation. I'll make it a conversation. I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. And so, and I've already asked him, and the two candidates, I know both of them. And so I don't mind calling them out and saying, what are you going to do about this?
I think for this year's budgeting
We have to for this
purposes,
year.
we should,
But-
I would strongly advise this board to not let our PSAP go until there is a
agree.
complete 100% plan to move forward. So I worked with Christina and stuff. We moved the money to provide the funding so that we won't lose our 911 capabilities, we won't lose those things. And so until you guys have the most information to make that decision, my recommendation is that we just continue to fund that and not lose our PSAP, because once we let it go, we don't get it back.
Now, did that funding come from the 5/8 cent sales tax?
The 911 funding? Oh, the funding that we're doing now? Yeah, it comes from our STFE money, yeah.
It is coming out of that sales tax.
I don't know if y'all
It's not
remember,
the
but
5/8
I remember
cent sales
when
tax, It's the permanent 1%.
1%, that's what I meant. I'm so sorry.
the
Yeah, I knew that,
911
please.
for
Sorry.
Siloam was shut down and completely handed over to the county. That was quite some time ago, but
Well, yeah, we had staffing
mess.
shortage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It
And
was a big
they
old
were-
mess.
Yeah, they were billing us, hourly billing us, and yeah, it was quite the ordeal.
yeah.
So did we, in order to do this, did we have, because we're using the 1% sales tax, and a lot of times you guys have that, and it's a permanent tax, is it not? It is a permanent tax. And so a lot of times you guys have these things planned out ahead of time. Did we have to cut something to do this? And did it get both cut from fire and police?
Well, not
gonna
from,
assign it to the
not from both, and I don't necessarily want to say we had to cut anything that was necessary.
Okay.
We did rearrange our priorities, but anything that was absolutely critical and necessary, we didn't have to cut any of that.
Okay. And Dusty, did you have something?
I was just going to kind of echo what Scott was saying as well. I think for next year, it's going to be critical for us to keep our PSAP as it stands today. Yes, that is going to cut into our STFE funds. I think it's important to know that those STFE funds that we do have and that we do count on, those are fire trucks, those are ambulances, those are our, his police cars, and those are our big ticket things. And the good thing about those funds is they actually roll over, so we can save those, right, and build those funds up to be able to make those bigger purchases. So we're not taking from general fund money. But when something like this comes up, you do have to reprioritize, and it does push things back. Luckily, this year, Scott was able to handle all the PSAP funds, but if we continue to have to pay for those out of our STFEs, then we're going to have to share that cost, because I think it is a shared cost. But it does make you have to, in my situation, it's going to be coupled up with that additional cost plus the 10-year lease that we're doing, right? Plus, future, salaries and wages that we're having to work through right now. And so it really pushes some of those, there's way less cushion, if you will, if I can articulate that correctly, but.
You mentioned fire trucks and stuff, and I know the police is on a, and we'll talk about that, but the police is on a what is it, for the vehicles, a rental kind of thingy,
Well, we have two, so.
lease program.
Yeah, but, so our leasing program that we have is for our non-pursuit rated vehicles.
Oh, no.
So police and CID, they're not pursuit rated, they're not gonna be used for that purpose. But our fleet, the main portion of our fleet are our patrol vehicles, SRO vehicles, street crimes, traffic, they're on our rotation schedule now. So we get the same amount of cars come in and go out every year now, so that we maintain a healthy fleet of cars. So we've been very proactive in implementing this program now, and so we're very healthy when it comes to our fleet. And if we can maintain, which our STFE funds allow us to project this, and we can rotate those cars out at that 5-6 year mark, depending on mileage and the assignment of the car. Like SRO cars, we don't rotate out as fast as we have to patrol cars, because they don't get driven as much. But everything's on a rotated schedule now, so we just buy those outright and just replace them 4 to 5 a year.
Okay. We're going to be talking about fire next, but I do have to ask, since you did bring up fire trucks. Are we on a rotation schedule on those, and do we have any of the county, because the county buys cities some fire trucks. And they don't have a specific schedule, and they don't have a specific guideline if this truck breaks down, we replace it. They just willy-nilly, I don't know why, but they have no schedule or anything, buy fire trucks. Are we taking advantage of that program and?
Through the county? We do have one county fire truck.
One
that they-
county fire
That
truck.
they provided to us, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are we on a rotation for the fire trucks?
Yes. So
Specific.
we worked with City Shop in Armena. She helped us build a fleet rotation schedule earlier this year. So we are on a fleet rotation schedule. It mimics pretty much what PD is doing, except for, our fire trucks, we can stretch for anywhere from 12 to 15 years, depending on the mechanical soundness of that vehicle. But yes, we are on a rotation schedule.
Director
So-
Rissler, I would actually like to clarify something for you. The bulk of the 911 dispatch cost is personnel, which does come from general fund. Now, we have arranged the budget to make sure that we can still fund everything,
Right.
but this is not impacting the STFE
Okay.
funds.
I was wondering if it did, and so okay. So it doesn't come out of the 1% tax.
The AT&T bills and the mapping and stuff, that is
That is.
coming out of the STFE
Yes.
Okay,
funds.
so the
But the-
software,
Yes.
is that what you're talking about, the software?
No, so the AT&T 911 phone
Oh.
lines,
Okay, yeah.
we now have to pay that. And the software updates to the Annie-Alley, the
That was an
911
additional
mapping,
cost.
all of that stuff that was being paid for, or being offset through the 911 funds.
So there are, what I'm saying is, the personnel isn't all the cost, but all of the personnel cost is coming out of the general fund.
Okay.
Scott has graciously moved to some of the other operating costs to his STFE fund.
There anything else in the police that you need to go over with the board?
I haven't.
I don't think you
discussed
finished.
it.
I
I didn't
felt like-
discuss
yeah.
expenses yet, but it sounds like we're there. So personnel costs on page 9 decreased mainly due to healthcare elections, and wages increased by about 43,000, which includes the step increase, but is offset by some turnover. So as you have turnover, people come in typically at a lower wage. Operations increased 14% over prior year, and most of that is in sales tax funded equipment. And the main drivers for the increase are the replacement of ballistic vests and office rental fees for the detectives.
You actually answered one of my questions, so.
Are there any other questions related to the expenses on the police department?
Yep.
David?
Christina, on the, where'd it go? Salaries and wages benefit pay jumps from 11 to 51. And the answer is additional restaurants selling alcohol. No, that's not the right page.
No.
It's
Benefit payout, a lot of times will include we stick our retirement money in there separate from the wages. So if there's anybody that is anticipated to retire in the upcoming year, their retirement funds are included in that line item.
Okay. That's why it jumps.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and then I also had, but you may have yeah, your miscellaneous jumped, but it was adding a lease for offices. Are we getting a mobile home or something? What were we doing?
I believe that
not
Scott,
all. I should say mobile.
We were we're still trying to look to see what our options are for leasing either a building or office space because we've outgrown the police department. So relocating our criminal investigations division off-site, if that's a possibility. So we went ahead and budgeted the money just in case that opportunity arises. but we haven't found anything that would meet the security needs and everything as of right now.
Well, that's a good, I mean, you're being efficient at only having that much if you could do it for that much. But I think at one time, somebody had said possibly putting a mobile home on premises, and I was like, please, let's not ever, somebody had brought that up, but that was years ago, and for expansion, I'm like, yeah, no. So I totally get it, because you have outgrown.
What line is
that
that,
at?
David? Where is?
That was under expenses, STFE, well, where did it go? No, where did?
Grounds and building?
No?
No?
No, it's STFE miscellaneous. It's miscellaneous. There's zero for the last three and then 32.5 for this year. And the answer is adding a lease for offices for the CID officers. But as Chief said, if it's off-site, that might be ideal, but it's like finding it is needle in a haystack, so.
What is the need? I mean, besides security, does it have to be where you have to have
It needs to be
like the
as secure as a
professional
police
building?
station.
Are we not able to go in and make it a secure environment? That's what I'm trying to think of.
Well, that's the deal. So some of the landlords we talk to won't let us make certain upgrades or whatever that we would need to make it secure. The IT security issues as far as connectivity to our servers and things of that nature. So we're still trying to work out some of those logistics as to what that looks like or what it can look like moving forward. We just got to first is find the space that's affordable, and then work on it. Once we find that a space, we could probably work out the other security factors. But
I have a question on that. So if there's a space available and we're a government entity and somebody says, okay, I'll give it to you within this range, but they could make a lot more, could they legally write off the rest of it because we're a nonprofit?
Not because we're a nonprofit, but because we are a governmental entity.
So they could
yes.
do that. So it'd be a
As long as
write-off
it-
for somebody.
As long as it benefits the entire population, which in an.
It would benefit the whole
Yes.
entire population.
We've had donations in other departments that were specifically as a tax write-off.
Sorry, I didn't feel like I'm hogging the whole.
Anyone
You
else?
are. You
Anyone
are.
else on the police department? And I think if you're ready, Christina, we'll move to
All
fire.
right. Fire revenues begin on page 12. There is an incremental increase in ambulance fees offset by a decrease in grant revenue. The grant for the 6 additional firefighters ran out this year in '25. Lot fee turnback is a function of payroll, and as payroll increases, retirement reimbursement by the state also increases.
Of course, I have a question on every page. On the government grants, with this being the 6 firemen, can you explain how this affected the budget? Where did the money come from to pay these salaries?
Because the grant was written as the firemen will be let go through attrition, and we opted not to do that.
Right.
The only way that we could afford to fund that, obviously, if we're down to 30 grand positive in our budget, was for Dustin to decide that it would be okay to pay for those wages out of STFE.
Out of STFE. And does this include benefits and retirement,
Yes,
not just salaries, of course?
correct. The entire package. So expenses begin on page 13. And here, there's a personnel decrease mainly due to fewer part-times requested by the department. And the main driver for the decrease in operations is moving some of the expenses from equipment expense for Act 833 grants to capital. So basically, it's just moving it from the operation to capital. but it is still all out of STFE funds. It was as part of operations, and it is as part of capital outlay. And bad debt, that is just a function of services and sales. In this case, ambulance fees.
Can I ask something on page 12 again? Sorry, I want to go back. Did that affect, whenever you did this, the government grants and it went away and you did the salaries, did that affect any of the projects or needs that you had for the fire department?
It did, in kind of the same ways that Scott had mentioned as well. It was just a reprioritization of, we can push some of those things to a future year and continue. My goal was to continue to roll money forward every year. A minimum of at least $400,000 is what kind of my goal was. Just so that we could continue to prepare for that next fire truck that we were going to need to buy. But yeah, it did affect it, but nothing that we can't handle next year.
How much do fire trucks run?
Oh my goodness, that's a loaded question. They're one of our engines right now. Well, you all agreed, or thankfully let us buy that rescue pumper, and we spent $1.1 million on it. And that was earlier in the year. That same truck today is selling for 1.3. An engine is going to be anywhere around 1.3. Ladder truck is going to be in the $2 million range.
When's our next one needed?
Our next ladder truck would be needed probably within the next 2 to 3 years. We are exploring, which we did this year with the city shop with their help. We rebuilt one of the motors in one of our fire engines, engine 3. And that's going to extend the life of that truck by, I don't know how many, 6, 7 years maybe. It's the first one we've ever done, but other departments in the area have had good luck with it. So we followed suit, and that was only about $50,000 to get that done. So we can stretch the life of our trucks out a little bit longer. There's always an option that you could do a frame-off rebuild on a fire truck, so we could send our current ladder to get completely rebuilt. And that costs around $500,000 to $600,000. So you're talking a fraction of the cost of a new one. And that includes new drivetrain and everything.
Whenever
Downtime on that's about, I think he said 4 to 6 months.
When we're down a truck, do other agencies help us?
Yeah, absolutely. We have mutual aid agreements. We have just kind of handshake deals basically across Northwest Arkansas that if I need Springdale to come cover, or Gentry or Gallatin to cover, they come over and cover for us. With the purchase of this 2018 Ferrara rescue pumper that we should be taking delivery of next week, I'm hoping. If not, it'll be shortly after. We will effectively have a reserve rescue pumper. We'll have a reserve engine and a reserve ladder truck. So we will have one reserve vehicle for all of our frontline apparatus.
So this one that the maintenance department rebuilt, is that a reserve or is that in operations?
That is a frontline apparatus right now until we get this 2018 rescue pumper around Thanksgiving.
And whenever you said you rebuilt one,
Mm-hmm.
and you might need one in the next 2 or 3 years, is that on top of this rebuild?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Good.
Okay.
I may have questioned that we were only adding one staff but I forgot to look at police, and are we adding, how many are we adding, Chief, on the police department? 2 officers. Is it, well, I guess we were budgeted for, yeah, we're staying within budget, we just didn't have them all filled, right?
No, we are not adding any positions. We're reclassifying the records clerk position to a bailiff/wellness coordinator position. But we will remain at the current staffing level that we have now.
And so you don't have as many as you expected on the budget for this year on part-time, so you're getting that back to what it was on part officers. So really, it's basically staying in line with the 25 budget on numbers. Yeah, okay. Gracias, that's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Lisa?
You brought up something I forgot I was going to ask about the bailiff. The county was providing that position. Was they not, or was we always providing that position?
No, county was providing that. I do not know the details of that agreement. It was made by the previous city administrator. We were just, Christina and I were informed 2 months ago, something like that, that they would no longer be able to providing that service unless we paid. And the amount that they proposed was not good. So Christina and I got together and we came up with a short-term solution. We're using part-time people at the moment to fill that slot. But with this reclassification of position, we'll be able to fit the needs of the department better with that.
What was that number the county gave?
I believe it was like 56,000 and change or something.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
Are we ready to move to parks?
Yes. Did you move-
I-
I'm assuming, David?
I did have one thing on fire I had forgotten to ask. Chief, on Station 1 living quarter update, we did get that done, right, in this last year?
We did the kitchen remodel, yes, sir. Upstairs kitchen remodel. Yep.
I just want to make sure, I always want to make sure that we're keeping things updated for where, I mean, they live there.
They live there. That's their home away from home, for sure.
And then I saw the $15,000 for rescue boat. I'm like, we got a Boston whaler out at the water. Can't we? I'm joking.
Don't let some of those guys know we still
That
have
thing is
that.
still, I saw it, Josh, you showed it to, is it still out there? When we did the ribbon cutting for the water plant, it was covered in dust, so, yeah, oh, okay.
Nobody knows where it is.
It
It's
was
gone.
just sitting back there covered in dust. I'm like, oh. We used to joke that it was Moose's Boston whaler that he was taking out fishing, but no,
And
that was,
actually on
that
that-
was not true. It was just a joke.
On that rescue boat, Director, that we actually worked through with the Benton County Fire Association, I remember that, and they actually had an extra rescue boat, so they have given us that to use as long as we need it, so we will not need to expend that.
Good, nice, thank you.
And parks?
So Parks revenue is increasing mainly due to the Walton Family Foundation grant for the Saker Creek and Twin Springs restoration. You will notice that a portion of the entry registration and summer programs were moved to the administration department. Expenses begin on page 18.
I have questions on that page.
Certainly.
So, yeah, can we get through the whole presentation for the
section.
department, and then we'll open up for all the questions, and that we kind of keep on track then and don't lose, yeah.
So expenses begin on
Yeah.
page 18, and offsetting the raises is the movement of the recreation coordinator to the admin budget as an event coordinator. And overall operations are in line with prior year. Special events and recreation support are included in the admin budget. And FAC operations are also in line with prior year. So, questions?
Questions? Go ahead.
Oh, you don't want to wait till, did you already go through the whole section? Did I miss?
Yeah, I'm just giving the highlights and then opening the
Okay.
floor for questions.
Okay, I have questions. Okay, so back on page 17. On the summer programs, you say that they're trending low for 2025. Is this because we have fewer programs? Are we changing fees? Is attendance down?
Summer programs is part of what's moving to administration.
So the decrease is only part of it? Okay, and that's what we discussed earlier. Okay. Sorry, I'm writing these down as and you said something earlier about the grants. What grants make up?
Yeah, the grant was approved by the Walton Family Foundation. It's for, close to $670,000, and then we will match it up to 1.2 million, and that's in our capital expense.
I was hoping we
That's what I
could
was
change that number in here. It's 666,666. If we could just put 670,000, that'd be great.
Dave, if you'll throw in a couple dollars, we can change that.
Right now,
Yeah,
make it 666,668.
On the FACs, what is driving the revenue decreases, did you say?
The revenue operations are in line with prior year. I mean,
Well, on the FAC general and all those, I mean, there's some decreases in there.
There
What's
are,
driving
but-
that?
a lot of it has to do with the categorization,
Okay, I
because the
have shift in
overall
categorization.
revenue is pretty much in line with prior year.
Okay, that's what my question was it reducing service or a shift in categorization? So, now, are you going to cover page 20, 21? You are. And on page 19, what should be that value? I could have calculated it, but I guess I was lazy and didn't want to go to my computer and calculate it.
Which value?
It's a calculation error.
Bottom right-hand corner, there's a.
Under
Right-hand
subtotals?
corner.
Is that what you're talking? Yeah,
Oh, the column was not wide enough.
yeah.
If it's
To the bottom line there, Christina, on 19,
pound
your
div,
subtotals.
divide by zero, exclamation point.
The division by zero just means that the previous year was zero, so technically, it's an imaginary number to divide by zero. And so that's why it says hashtag divide by zero.
Put a zero value in there. And then page
I
20.
missed that one.
On the grant funding, are these guaranteed or pending?
The Sager Creek and Twin Springs Restoration Grant has been approved by the Walton Family Foundation.
Those are guaranteed.
So that is going to happen, but I believe while we have applied for the community building remodel, I do not know that we have been provided that grant. I don't know that we've been awarded that. So that's just the matching portion of it. If we were to receive it, that would be the city's portion.
Okay, can you, so on the 3/8 sales tax funded projects, to clarify, is what you put in here, the community building in the Sager Creek, Sager Creek, if I can speak, Twin Springs, that, to clarify, this is coming from the 5 million of quality life that we already have.
Correct.
And then,
But even with this expense, we'll still end the year with $5 million.
This money has continued to go in there.
It'll
Yeah.
For half a year, yeah.
so what, just remind me, just as a reminder, what has the rest of the quality of life funds been spent on? And I know you've told us, but I need, while I'm doing this budget in my budget mindset.
Okay. So quality of life, for the most part, has been spent on the park around the library. That has been the bulk of the expenditure. Other expenditures include the Family Aquatic Center updates over the years. There's been a couple of different years where we've done updates out there that have come out of quality of life. And while we have budgeted matching funds for certain sidewalks and side paths, those grants were not awarded, so we never spent money on those items.
Okay. Have we been making sure, because part of that quality of life is the sidewalks, and I think Director
That's
Hunt
correct.
spoke about this the other night. Are we making sure are we making it a priority that our sidewalks are ADA? Like, there's a lot of sidewalks that are uneven. So are we using that money like I think that we,
Well,
the
the
public
uneven
thinks it's gonna
sidewalks,
use
we
them?
have been doing a process where we hire a firm that comes in and levels those. I mean, if something is up like this, they'll smooth it off and make it so that it's easier for people in wheelchairs or that have other needs for transportation to use them easier. But I don't know that we have done a lot of building of sidewalks.
Better.
I mean, like taking out and replacing sidewalks
Right,
to make
okay.
them ADA, unless we are working on the road.
So while we're doing sidewalks, because that is part of the thing, are we using quality of life funds?
We have not been using quality of life funds.
So even though we took it to the public and
Yes.
we said, when you
Yes.
go to vote on this, part of that is going to be sidewalks. We're not spending it on sidewalks.
We have not spent to my knowledge, we've budgeted for them, but we haven't spent them. And the reason why is because we're budgeting, say, $80,000 as a grant match, but then we never get the grant, so then the project doesn't get done.
So, but we're still spending the 80,000?
No.
No, we're not spending it.
So
So,
if we don't get the
we're not-
grant, we don't spend the match.
so where's the money when we're doing our project, when we're doing our sidewalks, where's that money coming from?
Streets.
Streets, even though it could come out of quality of life.
That is correct.
And so, and how much do we spend on sidewalks? Do we have that value in here somewhere, or do you have it?
I know what we budget annually, but I don't know that that's necessarily what we expend, so I would have to look and see what we've actually expended on sidewalks.
Okay, so I want to make a point. So my point is, earlier I asked about the 80,000. And then we talked about the dispatchers at 226,000. If we could get that back from the state, right now that's at 306,000.
That's
Then if we could get the sidewalks, that's another amount of money that if we took it out of the quality of life that the voters, the people voted on, that's another chunk of money. It adds up. These things add up, and we need to have conversations, and we're not having those conversations. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to, so my next question is, I'm moving on, so sorry, I made my point. How are the 3/8 sales tax funds split between parks needs versus citywide priorities? And if you have to get back with me on that, I would be
Well,
fine
I
with
think that there has been a confusion because my understanding was that we were, and this is just me, and this is as a line staff, as a finance director, we were basically given the impression that the quality of life was basically going to be whatever the board decided was quality of life, and then the other 50% goes towards utility upgrades. And we have spent all of the money for
On the
utility.
utility upgrades.
All of it.
So, because staff spends the money and within their allotted amount. So
Or
why
it's
are we not
budgeted.
having the conversation on the quality of life? We have neglected having the conversation on the quality of life. And was it because staff wanted to save it for a building or what? We're ignoring the conversations and we're letting, that's the frustration part.
My understanding when Mr. Patterson was here, this was long ago, because this is 10 years old, right? I think that everything that was spent out of the quality of life for the parks and the FAC operations was all that he intended to spend out of that for parks, because I think the remaining amount, his plan, at least my understanding was, that he was going to have each ward determine which sidewalks and side paths needed to
But
be
the
addressed.
conversation never happened.
But the
That's another-
conversation never
That's
happened.
another example.
And then I believe the prior city administrator just wasn't sure what he wanted to do with those funds.
So how do we
He
force?
did use some of the funds. Alan Gilbert used some of the funds for
What did he
things
use
he,
them on?
for things he wanted.
I believe the only things that we've used it for was the FAC updates. I mean, in the budget that I'm aware of.
The Family Aquatic Center.
Yeah,
for
oh,
this.
we did pull some things out for the golf course.
golf
with board
course.
approval.
Okay.
There's like 25 things that have been spent since the fund got started. But almost all of them were things that Patterson and Don Clark decided to do without the board knowledge.
So that goes back to my question, though. What part of it because we said, when we took it to the voters, and we need to, if we're going to take it to the voters and the voters vote on it based off of that, we need to follow through, and we haven't.
Correct.
We have not at all.
I thought I remembered that we did have a discussion about which sidewalks we
We've had
wanted.
sidewalk conversations, but it doesn't
per
come out of this
ward.
money.
Well, but speaking of that, okay, so I understand sidewalks was one of the things that we talked about, quality of life, and you're saying that, but we haven't spent money on sidewalks for quality of life, but have we spent money on sidewalks, period, anywhere? Because I know like when so Josh is shaking his head. And I'm not talking about with a street project, like, to me, the Bird Streets, those have sidewalks, but they were also street improvements, so that's kind of all lumped together. Kenwood or Lake Francis, kind of the same way, but
We
have
have
there.
a sidewalk master plan.
Yeah, but have we been,
Yeah.
okay,
I don't know off the top of my head, only being in this role 3 months, what all those are. But I do know like some of them were down Progress Avenue in front of the hospital. I think our crews also did down Washington Street. Just going
Well, and I know
down
we
each
did go with
side,
you a
doing
couple years ago,
sidewalks
too.
only. No street project, just fixing sidewalks that were damaged.
okay, so, and all that's just coming out of the street fund?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
Although we took it to the voters and said, we're going to do this stuff at sidewalks out of this funding, and we have not done that. We did not follow through with what we told the voters. And so
Right.
again, in March, we're going to go back and we're going to ask them, let's extend this 3/8 cents sales tax when we weren't responsible enough to handle it the first time. Because we did not follow through with what we said we were going to do.
So
Are there streets, are sidewalks in the budget for next year?
Yes, ma'am.
It's probably in here too, isn't it?
It is. We could,
What's
I mean, I
the,
don't want to like.
yeah, I
skip
mean, I'm not
ahead or-
saying,
It's way down the line. It's page 79. I mean, it's way down there.
it'll be under the street, right?
Yeah.
how
Talk
much is
about
it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me find that line item.
I will tell you this, while he's doing that, again, we get to sidewalks that were redone that didn't have board approval, sections of Progress that was not, it didn't make a lot of sense. There's not a whole lot of walkers on Progress Street. There are an awful lot of walkers on other places that need sidewalks rebuilt. But there were sections all the way down Progress that it, like, I don't understand this.
Well, as I've said before, my issue is with the, right now, a street over by where I live, what is it, no. Anyway,
Garland?
sections of sidewalk on each side of the street, but it's not all connected from
Oh,
one
yeah.
side to
Right.
the other.
And there's students on that street. Is there not students on
Yeah.
that street? Is it-
Yeah, there, that's, I'm
That's
sure
the
there are
point.
kids that walk along that street, and I've been asked for a while to get all that street done, but it was one of those cases where new houses were built, and so they opted to put their own sidewalk in. So you have a total.
Yeah, there's 300,000 right now budgeted in for 2026.
For sidewalks?
Yes, sir.
That's great. What was last year, do you remember?
I think originally it was like 400 or 500, I don't know for sure, but then we obviously didn't get anywhere close to that.
And if we could put that 300, that's another.
Well, and I do agree. I always
$600,000
thought
savings right there.
sidewalks were part of quality of life, too.
So, but if you add that 300 he just said, that's $600,000 right there that we have found in the budget. If we could do it right, while we're, it's not going to solve the problem of we're still going to have to do utility rate increases.
Right. But I do want to just clarify, anything coming out of the street budget does not impact the general fund at all.
Well, I'm sure we can get more streets done with that
We sure could.
$300,000, because that is another issue that we have to face. And I'll say, so can we, if we decide as a board for even the 2025 budget, not, not just this budget. Well, it might not be that way. So can we, on the 2025 budget, and this was asked by somebody that sent it to me, on the, can we reimburse from the quality of life to reimburse any sidewalks he paid out this year? And that would give more money for more streets? If the board
Technically, yes,
decides
you
it.
can. Sidewalks are a part of that
These are the
definition.
conversations we need to be having, and we are not having. We just go with the flow because it's easier that way, and we want to get out of the meetings, and we're not having these conversations. And I can't force them, but I'm telling you, we're neglecting our citizens when we don't have those conversations.
I'm okay having these conversations. If we bring them up, if they get brought up, let's have the conversation. You're bringing it up now, we're conversing. So I think
Yeah,
that's
but I mean, we
good.
stop here. A lot of times we have it and we walk away. We've been talking about the quality of life funds forever, and we've done nothing, and it keeps building up, and we got 5 million in there.
Ultimately, whose responsibility is that? Is that our responsibility to get it on the agenda? Is it?
If you have this conversation here tonight and give us direction, then we know we have to bring something back to you. But if you just talk about something generally speaking,
I
that
think
doesn't
that's what
really actually
happens.
provide us direction. So
So-
if the board would provide us direction, then yes, that's our marching orders.
So I can just start asking for all this stuff to be on the agenda, whether it fails and passes, at least it forces the conversation, and it lets the public know we're trying. And so I would like that conversation on reimbursing sidewalks, so we can have more money for our streets to come out of the quality of life that the voters voted for. And I have another question on page 21. Sorry. And if anybody has any more comments on, I don't want to stop the conversation on sidewalks.
We'll give him a chance. Go ahead.
What improvements are planned for the community building remodel? Is this going to be an in-house? Is this a complete remodel? What is this? Can somebody give us some?
On the community building? So what we did is Travis, I tasked him with trying to apply for our grant at a very, very short amount of a time. To fix the community building, because it's on the National Historic Registry, we have to replace it the way it is. So basically, the rock will have to come off and get put back on, right? So it's a very expensive process. So the 1.5 million, was that correct, Travis? 1.5 million that we applied for that grant will basically fix the leaking and the issues that we have inside the community building itself. So those funds that we applied for is to fix the community building, not so much to remodel.
Not a complete remodel. And that was my next question. Is it a complete, is it? So the leakage is not from the roof, it's from the walls?
Correct. It's the way the rock is faced up at there. It's leaking in between the rock coming down inside the building. So we've had a few different roofers and companies come out and try to help us evaluate what we can do without changing the structure of it and getting it off the National Historic Registry. So it's been quite a process to try to repair without changing the building itself. So I had a company out about 2 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting on a quote back from that, just to try to mitigate the leaking coming in, not so much fix it, but just stop it from continuing.
Right.
So, but until we hear from the grant, and Travis has checked on it quite often, and they still have not made a determination as of yet on who will receive those grant funds.
So if it's been leaking into the walls, is there mold and a safety issue concern for us to be renting it during this time?
You know, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer for you on that. We do try to clean up and do what we can when it does happen. Travis, you may be able to answer as far as mold or if there's anything like that. I haven't seen.
The mold would be
Too much.
within the wall. So has any walls been removed to make sure there's not a
No.
safety concern?
Not that I'm aware of.
The walls that Jason's referring to, they're all stone walls, so it's not your fiberglass insulation.
Oh, okay, so can mold grow on stone?
Not in the same way that it would in fiberglass insulation or wood,
And so
but it, you know, it can.
it can. And it's black mold that can grow on it, because there's different types of mold. So fixing the roof is, with it being under the historical preservation, fixing the roof, does that change the structure where it doesn't fit within the historical, is that the, I mean,
That's the reason it's so expensive, because what they're gonna have to do, Miss Lisa, is they're gonna actually have to pull the rock off.
all the way down or just at the
Right,
top?
all the way down. So it could be done, it's almost like when you move a log cabin, okay? They go through there and they number them, so when they put it back together, it goes back the same way.
So my understanding when you and I had talked about it and Travis was in the middle of applying for the grant, and I could be misremembering, it would be, the community building might be shut down for a year? Is that, or was that from something else?
I don't know how long it would be shut down. I don't recall anything about that. Do you have an answer on that, Travis?
Or maybe that was for the full remodel when we talked about that?
Maybe for the full remodel.
Because I was wondering how that'll affect rentals and being able to use it.
The grant that we applied for was for a full remodel of almost every aspect of the community building. If we were to get the grant and do the full remodel, I would expect it could take 6 months, 6 to 8 months. I don't think the interior of the building would have to be closed for that entire time, but it would be hard to say until we got really into the bidding process.
Do you have any idea timeline, like when the grant might be awarded, when any?
When we applied, it sounded like we would know in the fall. The last that I reached out to them a few weeks ago, they said they still were reviewing applications and didn't have a timeline for letting us know.
Okay, thank you for
Yep.
applying for that. I know it was a lot of work.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
do you have all your questions answered for parks?
I have one more at the end, but that's at the end.
Well, I was just going to say, we've been talking a lot about quality of life, and part of quality of life for me is good sleep. And we were here until 10:30 on Tuesday night, and I'm just wondering if you might want to
I
wrap it
second
up
that.
sooner rather than later.
I just have one more question.
Yeah, I was actually going, I've been watching the clock, and.
My eyes are rolling back in my head a little
and
bit.
so, what is the next, yeah, and I'll
I've
come.
got several things in parks, so maybe we come back
Okay.
in parks at the next meeting.
That's, I mean,
Okay.
that's totally up to you all, if you
We've
all
been-
are.
I'm
We've
usually
been here
all
2
for
hours.
sticking it out, but
Yeah,
I'm just
Well, me
exhausted.
too. Yeah, I agree, I agree with that.
I'm with you.
December
So,
2nd.
Motion to adjourn,
Christina,
or is that okay?
you'll be able to.
We'll
you-
start back at Parks.
Start back with
At
Parks.
5:30, December 2nd.
Yes,
5:30?
5:30, December
5:30,
2nd, that's
yes.
correct.
So it's a workshop before the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we're not
None
having
next
any
week?
next week?
It's Thanksgiving next week.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
Well, it's not
We're going to
Thanksgiving.
stuff ourselves full.
Why can't we have one Wednesday night?
make sure that you do my part.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for bringing it up.
I guess I can be here.
This workshop is
I was here
adjourned.
at 5 o'clock last night.